Okay, so wow, I am really loud. How many of you guys have read Shiver? How many of you know how to pronounce my last name? How many of you actually have no idea who I am or why I'm here? So I just have to check. Okay, so it reduces my explanation to a very, very fine thing where everybody knows that I'm here because Forever came out today. It is the last book in the Shiver trilogy. And I really do mean it's the last book. I feel like I have to emphasize this because there's a lot of rumors out there on the web about there being a fourth book in the Shiver trilogy. I understand that some of these rumors are actually my fault. Back in April, on April Fool's Day, I thought it would be a really good idea to post a blog post announcing a fourth book in the Shiver trilogy. Shiver, linger, forever, litter. And I posted a cover that may have involved Sam, Grace, and a small number of puppies. I thought it was hilarious. And you know what? 50% of my blog readers did too. And then 25% of my blog readers were actually angry. Maggie Stiefvater, you mock us in our pain. You know how we want a fourth book and you laugh at us. You offer it to us and you take it away. If you were a true reader, you would understand the pain. Sorry. And then the remaining 25%, who were neither amused nor angry, well, they believed me. They put it on blogs, they put it on Twitter, everywhere. Litter was showing up on the web, and I thought this was pretty funny until it was added to Goodreads, which is the largest book review site in the United States, I believe. And so I had the following conversation. I'll be me. Me. You have got to take Litter off of your site because it is not a real book. Goodreads. I'll be Goodreads too. Are you sure? Me. Yes, I am sure. I am Maggie Stiefvater, the author of the original Shiver trilogy, and surely I would remember if I had written another book. Goodreads. Are you sure? Me. Don't you think I would remember writing a book about interspecies intercourse? Goodreads. And now we meant, are you sure that you're Maggie Stiefvater? Me. It led to this whole existential crisis where I was like, am I really Maggie Stiefvater? Did I write the Shiver trilogy? Who am I? And it was terrible. It went on for 3 days until they removed linger, litter. I do think I learned an important lesson from it though, because I did find out that if I ever do write a fourth book in the series, I am so calling it Litter because obviously there's a market. And so, yes, it really is the end, and it's really strange to be saying it's the end because I've lived with this series and with these characters for so many years. People start to make assumptions about you when you've written on a series for so long. I always get, why wolves? Do you love wolves? Are wolves your favorite animals? Do you love werewolves? Are you a werewolf? Do you turn to a wolf? Are you running away with wolves? Why wolves? And I mean, I do like wolves. I like all creatures great and small. Wolves my favorite animal? I mean, it was kind of inevitable that I was going to write about animals in nature. And actually, to explain why it's inevitable, I probably had to put us all in a time machine and set the time machine for this strange and distant past, this archaic time that is usually seen through a lens of soft focus. And yes, we are going back to the 1980s, the decade of my youth, the decade of Top Gun and My Little Pony.
Heck yeah!
And actually, if you take both of those, Top Gun and My Little Pony, and combine absolutely every element of both of them, it explains pretty much everything about my personality today. Yeah, so back in the 1980s, my childhood, I lived with my parents, as many children do, and my parents were simultaneously unwilling to say yes to a later bedtime and unable to say no to more pets. And so before the age of 18, I shared space with 4 siblings, 9 dogs, 4 litters of puppies, 5 cats, 4 horses, 2 parakeets, 3 tanks of aquarium fish, and once, memorably, a pencil case full of roly-poly bugs. Oh, the 80s. Roly-poly bugs look better through soft focus lens, I can promise you. Basically, my childhood was pretty much Noah's Ark if you replaced the flood with a cornfield and 99.9% of the species on the Ark was Scottish Terriers. And so, I mean, I loved animals and nature, and so it was always obvious that I was going to write about it. But wolves as my favorite animal, why wolves? And don't get me wrong, I have loved researching wolves for these past couple of years. Actually, last year when I was on tour in Hungary, I don't ever get tired of saying that, so I'm going to say it again. Last year when I was on tour for my book in Hungary, see, it still sounds good. Last year when I was on world tour for my book in Hungary, yeah, I'm done. Okay. My Hungarian publishers took me just outside Budapest to meet a man who trained wolves for Hollywood movies. How many of you have seen Blood and Chocolate or Season of the Witch? Yeah, I met those wolves. And so they said, well, you can meet the wolves face to face, but we'll have to provide appropriate apparel. And so I'm not exactly sure what appropriate apparel is for meeting wolves face to face in Hungary. I'm not sure if we're talking like padded arm things like for training German shepherds, or if we are talking a leather bikini. I don't know. It turns out that when I got there, it was actually Wellington boots and 2 raincoats because it was very muddy. And I'm there with Zoltan, the wolf guy, and there are dozens of wolves there. He has multiple packs. And they're there running around, they're very excited, and they dress me up, and then he opens the door a crack, and he puts his foot in, and he's like, in you get, and he throws me in. And then I go flying, he shouts, when they bite your hands, they're only saying hello. Wow, did they ever want to say hello? So, 15 slobber minutes later, I'm sitting on a little piece of wood there, and I'm sitting with one of the wolves, and they're nothing like dogs, these wolves. They have such pronounced pack behavior, and they're all growling over the privilege of who gets to bite my hands, and rolling around on the ground, being alpha and submissive, and it's amazing if muddy. And so I'm sitting there on this wooden thing with the wolf who has won the right to sit next to me, and we're best friends, he and I'm very fond. I still wouldn't say he's my favorite animal, but we're close. I mean, I wouldn't run away with him. No one really runs away with wolves these days. Ask Jacob Black. And so I'm sitting there with this wolf, and Zoltan comes up to me and he goes, have you ever heard a wolf howl up close? I'm like, oh yeah, sure, in suburban Virginia. All like, no, of course I have not heard a wolf howl up close. And he goes, oh. Beside me, my new best friend. He tips his head back again. I've never heard a man howl up close before either, so this was a very new experience already. And he howls again. And right after that, my new best friend tips his head back and he howls. And it is nothing like a dog howl because it is like a perfect single note, like someone singing. And all the other wolves all around me begin to howl, each a different note, so it is like a chorus all around me. And at this point, I'm quite relaxed and unafraid because honestly, if they really thought that these wolves were going to eat a best-selling author, they wouldn't have thrown me in front of my husband to watch. And secondly, they'd had 15 or 20 minutes to eat me already, and they hadn't, so I was fine. I was completely unafraid, but even knowing that everything was fine, as they howled, I could feel the hairs on my arms stand up as something deep and primeval inside me says, Maggie Stiefvater, you're going to die. So that, really, is why there are wolves in the Shiver series. Not because they're my favorite animal, not because I'm going to run away with Jacob Black, but because I can't think of another animal on this planet that inspires that same kind of feeling of awe and yet deep fear inside us. That kind of animal that I'm sitting there thinking, this is beautiful. They sound so much like a human, but they are worlds away. So that is why there are wolves in the Shiver series. And because without wolves, it's just a story about a girl who's really good at math and an emo boy, and who wants to read about that? Anyway, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take questions for about 15 minutes, and then after that, I am going to give the microphone back to Slyman, who is going to sing 2 songs, and then he is going to announce the raffle winner for this guitar, which I have attacked with a Sharpie, as you can see, and it has lyrics from them on there. And then afterwards, we're going to do a signing, and I have brought loads of swag in the form of foreign editions of Shiver, which, if you've ever really wanted a Bulgarian copy of Shiver, we have them here. Linger tank tops. We've got flash drives for This Is Teen, which is a group tour that I went on earlier, and it's still an ongoing thing on Facebook with Scholastic, www.facebook.com/thisisteen. You can go on there. So they're flash drives. I've got a video of me on, but they're also flash drives. And also, because this is the first event on my tour, which is actually a 3,700-mile road trip diving tour in my 1973 Camaro, we do have keychains. And so the thing is that take 1 item of swag each if you want it, and then move along. You can take any of them, big, small, whatever. If you want a postcard, take that. If you want 1 item each until they're all gone, please, I don't want to put it back in the car. It's riding so high now. Okay, so I'm going to ask questions, but first I'm going to tell a small anecdote about questions to shame you all into raising your hands. The first time I was on foreign tour, I was in the UK, and I was a little bit nervous because everyone said that talking in the UK was different because of the cultural thing, and I thought, no, it's fine. So I go into the school visit, and they've bussed in a whole bunch of schools, and there's all these kids wearing their jackets, so it's like I'm teaching at Hogwarts. And I give my spiel, and normally there's teens rolling in the aisle, and they're doing this. Thinking, wow, tough crowd. I think I press on, and I get to the end, and I say, does anyone have any questions or comments? And there's nothing, just blinking raccoon eyes from the crowd. I'm thinking, this is going to be the longest hour of my life. And then finally, one little hand. Ooh. Oh, thank God. Yes. Yes. I don't have a question. I just have a comment. Your accent is very cool. So please have better questions than the Brits. Does anyone have any questions or comments? And I already know my accent's very cool. Yes.
When you're writing the books, do you already know what was going to happen in Linger and Forever when you were writing Shiver, or do you write it literally?
She asked if I already knew what was going to happen in Linger and Forever. Shiver, Linger, and Forever when I started writing, or if it just happens naturally. I think that writing a book is like the way you take a road trip. And so if you're a very organized person, you'll have this very detailed itinerary. And actually, this is very good because I have never told this story while I'm on a road trip. So normally what I do on a road trip is I have a destination in mind. For instance, we are going to tour an alpaca farm in St. Louis. True story. And I know the address of the alpaca farm and generally where I'm supposed to be at the alpaca farm and when. And I have a couple of stops along the way. For instance, there may be a helicopter in Nashville and possibly a psychic in Michigan. And also, we're staying at a haunted B&B, I think it's in Philadelphia. These are all kind of interesting points along the way. But I don't know precisely how I'm going to get from each one. I'll stop and take road trips off the side all the way, meander, delete a lot of words. And that's the way it is with each individual book and also as a series. I will kind of know the final point. You know, I always knew I wanted Forever to end with an alpaca farm. So I will just shoot for the alpaca farm. I make lots of wrong turns, but I always come back because there's got to be llamas at the end. Actually, llamas spit, alpacas don't. Next.